everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. I'm Alternis. Oh, I am not muted, so I'm going to take care of that. There we go. And I'm Alternis. I'm the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst. And I'm here again with Keith. Hi, Keith. Oh, you're muted.
And I am muted. Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hello, it's good to see you. Keith Hann, Zadel on all of the BattleTech places. I'm excited to have you back on to talk more about the playtests and how that's going. We have a new one that started today, I believe.
Yes.
So we'll talk about all of the things and then do some Q&A at the end. So exciting stuff. Thank you all for being here. I don't have a ton of news, nothing that's really changed from last week. I don't have new release dates for next year yet, and business as usual on all of the stuff. I will say that the Shadowrun sale on the website for 40% off 40% off of the Shadowrun catalog is still happening on the Catalyst store, so you can head there if you haven't taken advantage of that already. And let's see, I've got some links for you guys that the moderators are going to help me drop. My dog's walking on papers. All right, here we go. We've got the Shadowrun sale link. If you guys can drop that in chat. I already talked about that one. The second playtest packet for the classic BattleTech launched today. Check out the proposed mobility rules. So if you guys can drop that in chat, we'll probably drop that a few times in chat today, since that's what we're talking about. The Core, a BattleTech Anthology Volume 1 audiobook, is now available on audio, so you can check that one out as well as Shrapnel number 22. And I believe, because tomorrow is the release for Gothic, and I believe the next Shrapnel is a Gothic themed one, so that'll be fun. The Good, the Bad, and the Sinless by Stephen Dedman is available and out on the Catalyst or on the digital store. And this is the last day as well for the Drive-Thru RPGs Shadowrun sale, which goes up to 40%. And that has older edition stuff as well, so you guys can check that out. And then any other questions that you guys have, we'll get to during the Q&A section. But I want to talk to you, Keith. Hi, Keith.
Hi.
For those just joining us that didn't join us the last time you and Aaron were on, Aaron's got bus duty, so he couldn't join us today. But can you explain just high level what are the playtests all about that we're talking about today?
All right. So I myself started probably around 2018 or so, compiling ideas. Like, there's eventually going to be a new core rulebook. They always do this once in a while, and they always make some changes at that time. So I started piling them up, and sure enough, we get the go of we want to move to a new core rulebook. So we started testing them. We winnowed things down to a few dozen, and some of them are pretty straightforward. Like I said, I mentioned in the playtest packet, there's a rule where you get a point of heat if you try to stand up. Well, you don't really need that. It's the only thing in all of movement that is an exception for heat. Let's just get rid of it. We don't really feel we need to test stuff like that. That's just the decision we'll make, and we're fine with it. But there's a bunch of stuff that BattleTech's a complex game with a lot of moving parts. And it can be easy to go, well, okay, this looks straightforward, but you missed 35-ton mechs on pavement, in bug storms on Tuesdays with Blue Sox, and PPCs manufactured between 2750 and 2753, and therefore everything is ruined. And I don't mean that frivolously. I mean, like, seriously, there's obscure interactions, but given enough people and enough games, those will come up. And we don't want something that breaks the game. So part of this is sanding off those, oops, you screwed up parts, and hopefully then the rule still works. And other bits of it is, we may have just missed something outright that this isn't going to work at all. It may look good on paper. It may even play out well with a limited number of playtests, but It's always dangerous to be like, oh, my 5 friends and I, we didn't find anything with 3 games. It must be good, right? So we want to open this up to everybody. We want to get dozens, hundreds of games, hundreds of players all sounding in, and that way we have much less chance of the dreaded day one errata when it releases and goes, strike that page because we've immediately found out that it's terrible and doesn't work. So
And
that's
you've
the
worked
idea.
on errata a long time for BattleTech now.
Yeah.
And what is the overall goal of this core rulebook redo? Is it a new edition?
Well, I mean, we've tried to be very clear in the playtest packet. No, it's not a new edition, but let's be realistic with each other. There's no such thing as a definition for a new edition. It's just BattleTech has always been very careful with that word because we want to emphasize continuity. We've like a lot of editions, a lot of games will emphasize we do change. We change all the time, and here's what's new. And BattleTech has made a lot of changes over the year. If you compare that little tiny, what is it, 36 or 48 page second edition box set book from 1984, 85, 85, I believe. It's on the surface, it's the same game, but there's been tons of changes. So each time there's a new core book that comes out, ASA and then CGL made a bunch of changes. They'd like, well, massage this, add this. Usually it was in the format of more. Like, okay, we'll explain more things, we'll add more gear. But there's always been these little bits. So for us, we thought, what would we call a new edition? And that's record sheets. That's a big thing. If you have to throw out the old record sheets, if you can't play with your old books from the 80s, that to us is what we consider a new edition. But others might disagree, and that's fine, because again, there's no formal definition. I'm not going to chase you down if you don't agree that this is in fact a new edition. Whatever. So that having been said, what's the big goal? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Does the new book make the Mech Commander's handbook obsolete?
Well, the idea is it's going to replace the Battle Mech manual, and it's going to replace Total Warfare. So yeah, in that way, yeah, it'll be we'll have one book instead of two, but at the same time, there'll still be supplements. So the new core rule book is focused mostly on mechs, but not entirely. But no matter how it was done, no matter who was in charge of this, BattleTech has grown over decades to the point it is impossible to have everything in one book. Like, it just can't be done. People who's like, just put everything in one book. It's not possible.
That'd be a big chunk.
Sales. Yeah, it would be an enormous book with a hideous price point that no one would want, and then most people that buy it would be like, why do I have to constantly flip through the Zeppelin and support vehicle and whatever other units I don't use rules to get to what I personally like? So we're still doing the supplement model. There will still be more supplements after the core rulebook, but we do want to kind of make it so that the new core rulebook is more of a one-stop kind of thing. So it'll have a more robust mission generator than Total Warfare. It'll have a bunch of the weather and environment rules that are currently in tactical operations. Not all of it, but your average Terran environment stuff. You should be able to deal with rain, wind, snow, just in the core rules. But at the same time, that won't cover lava or zero gravity or bug storms or more niche stuff. We'll push that off more to supplements. But the idea is that most of the time, what you're going to need will be in this new core rulebook in a way that really isn't right now, because right now, if you're playing in any sort of modern era, you're going to want Total Warfare, and you're probably going to want tactical operations because it has mountains of gear that have since become, in the last 15 years or so, pretty standard in any modern play. So we're going to shift a bunch of material out of there to core.
Okay.
Things are changing.
So let's talk about the last time I had you on a few weeks ago. You talked about the first playtest packet. What was included? Three-part question here. What was included in that piece? What feedback did you get? And was there anything that surprised you that came back?
The first playtest packet had just 2 rules because they were the biggest by far. And we're just like, we'll start with the big stuff. And we want the most eyes on that because we knew they were the biggest changes. We don't anticipate doing that changes of that scale throughout the whole test. So let's put the big stuff first. And the first one was a change to ammo explosions. Broadly, a philosophical sort of change. There was kind of 2 schools of thought there. Should you have big boom or small boom? And right now, current rule is big boom. If you get hit, you probably die. just you're dead. It's obvious exceptions and so on, but it's pretty devastating. And small boom, those people are like, it would be nice if it wasn't just binary. Like if there was a little more room for I am hit, but I am still alive here. So we shifted to that in testing. Um, that's going pretty well, I think. People who just like things to explode in giant fireballs are not going to be happy, and it doesn't matter how we massage the numbers. It's different from that. But there's going to need to be a little more work on it. I think we tried to pick one sort of happy middle zone for damage, and some people are like that's too little, some people that's too much, kind of a Goldilocks thing. So we'll probably massage the numbers, but we like the concept, and I think the playtest feedback on that has been pretty solid. The other thing was bigger. That was getting rid of side hit location tables, so that when you come up to someone on the side, you have a better chance essentially of hitting what's on that side without a need for a new table. It really concentrates the damage. In theory, well, no, it definitely is quicker once you figure out how it works. It was much quicker because you don't have to have extra tables. But the damage concentration is pretty powerful, and there's a lot of people commenting, I think, that this is showing in my playtest games, I'm getting a real sense that it's just pretty easy to delete mechs by focusing on the side. So we're not done yet. It's still going to run for a few weeks. I have some outside of this public playtest. I have some specialist playtest teams specifically working on that. I have a group of wonderfully ruthless tournament players who they know every in and out of BattleTech. They play to win. They know what they're doing. I gave that to them and said, break it, please. If it doesn't work, I want to know. So I'm still waiting for their feedback. We're still testing. But I'd say tentatively right now, I'm kind of cautious on that. I mean, it is a playtest, right? We weren't just saying, we're doing this, we just want your vote of approval. If this doesn't work, we will cut it. And so I'm cautious on that one, broadly positive on the explosion change with maybe some caveats.
So today drops the playtest packet 2. What's included with that?
That's a whole bunch of stuff we broadly kind of themed as mobility. Stuff that affects your movement speed, stuff that affects how easy it is to tub thumping effects. I get knocked down, I get up again kind of deal. So a lot of piloting skill roll stuff. A lot of this stuff came from Randall Bills, the managing director for Catalyst. He was saying, okay, I have to get into the weeds a bit here for mechanics. So right now, there is a rule for hips. The hip actuator is a part of the mech, and it has a sort of an odd rule. It works unusually compared to a lot of things for the leg, where if it hits, it overrides, it has its own effect. So first it does something by itself, but it also overrides a whole bunch of stuff that might have happened to the leg before it was hit, but it has no effect on things that happen after it was hit. It's awful. It's terribly confusing because in the end it means you have to have chronological damage tracking for everything in the leg. You need to know not just when the hip was hit, but everything else in that leg, because you have to make sure, okay, this doesn't apply now because it was canceled by the hip, but this happened later, so it does apply. And I mean, I asked why this was there. I would just want to cut it. It seems needlessly complex. And he said, well, it was something introduced to what they called a hip crutching effect. And when the idea was to minimize the effects of leg hits in general, or no, sorry, not minimize, but not make them too catastrophic. Because right now there's a lot of little moving parts in the legs. They can all take separate damage, and the modifiers rapidly pile up to the point that you're just on the ground doing nothing. So that rule, where you cancel out some things when the hip is hit, was an attempt to make it so that legs weren't catastrophic. But looking back, he's saying it's a bit, doesn't quite work as well as it should be. It's still pretty easy to get knocked down and be technically in the game, but realistically, you're just lying there looking at your phone and going, let me know when it's my turn so I can say I do nothing. Which is a valid option under the current rules. You can make the choice to do nothing, even though you don't have the choice to do anything but nothing. And then that uses up some parts of initiative and makes somebody else have to go. It's all very counterintuitive, and it doesn't really tackle what it was intended to tackle. So Randall suggests, so can we do something that's a little more, that works a little better? So a lot of this stuff is designed to cut piloting skill roll penalties to the point that they're still dangerous. Like it's still terrible to take these various hits, but you can at least get back up again and get back in the game, even if you're moving at a miserable amount of speed, even if a stiff breeze knocks you back down again, at least you have gameplay. You're still running around here, even at a pathetic, slow, uh, hobbling around speed. And if someone shoots you, you're almost certainly going to get blasted back down to the ground, but you are in the game still. That's the broad idea there. And then there's some other things like this is all sort of a group effort, so a bunch of the ideas are mine. Some are Randall's, some are Brenville's, the Sun, things like that. The water was mine. I just remember as long as I can reading BattleTech novels, they're like, okay, we're gonna do this really cool ass ambush from the water. We're gonna sneak in the water and we're gonna get those guys, or we're gonna walk across the bottom of a lake to get our destination, and then no one will see us coming. But in the rules, it doesn't work. In the rules, what happens is you get about 30 meters, 60, 90 meters, then you fall down, then you're breaching the armor, and then your mech floods, and then you die. The game and the fiction doesn't match at all.
Oh,
and,
no.
Yeah, you just like, everyone flops and dies. It would be an entire battalion of mechs wades into the lake, and then, after like 5 minutes, there's just some bubbles come up, and then there goes
The end.
Yeah, they had a great novel, right? I'm like, well, really.
Let's write it. I want to see it happen.
Right now, we have a lot of water that is on maps, though. Like, it's not just a theoretical thing. We have the original map has water on it, the BattleTech map. There's tons of maps with water hexes, and a lot of time people like to avoid it because it's so lethal or slows you down so badly. So we're making that a little more user friendly, so you can go into it. There's still a cost. It's the same idea of the leg changes. It's not that we want to get rid of how bad it is, but maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be that bad. And I mean, the playtesting will tell.
Cool. Anything else in playtest packet 2?
No, it's all grouped around the idea of movement and piloting skill rolls. There's more to come. There'll be stuff for gear, there'll be stuff for missions, other things, but those are going to be in later packets. We tried to put it roughly together with the sense that this is all stuff that's likely to come up together and that are all addressing maybe the same kind of broad end. I'd say more in this packet than other ones. For instance, the gear changes are going to be just a whole bunch of unrelated things that they're just, the only commonality is its equipment. But here there was a broader sense of, can we get a little more mobility? Can we get a little more movement, a little more gameplay out of what's currently happening?
So the first playtest packet goes until when for feedback?
I think there's 2 more weeks running on it.
Okay.
If you give me just 1 sec here, I could.
So you guys can still get in on that feedback round if you want to.
Yeah, October 13th, that first one closes.
Okay.
So there is some overlap. We don't expect too much in the way of synergy with the two. I mean, if you are doing a playtest and you go, hey, we were using both sets of rules, and like something I noticed is that something in Proposal 2 interacts with Proposal 15. I don't think this was noticed. Please mention it in your playtest. Let us know so we do see that. But for now, we think they'll be reasonably independent. You can use them together or not as you desire.
Cool. Okay. And then this one, how long does the playtest go?
So this one runs until the 10th, November 10th.
November 10th. Okay. So a couple weeks of overlap, but you could test both things. What's coming for number 3?
3 is all gear, and that's going to start again a little earlier. There'll be some overlap always on both. That is just going through mountains of equipment and deciding what maybe we can cut a bunch of game rules and make things more usable. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of that stuff was made by Randall, and a lot of it was, I really empathize with him. He was like, I'm making a ton of gear at once. The opportunity to playtest this stuff is pretty limited for tactical operations. It's, we've got hundreds of new things. So he erred on the side of caution. He and the design team in general were like, we don't want to break things. Let's add a bunch of maybe some extra rules and things that make these things a bit weaker, so that we don't accidentally release the Doom weapon on BattleTech and then everyone winds up using these things. We have to patch it. But with 15 more, more than 15 years of testing, we've started to realize, okay, some of this stuff no one just uses at all because it's too weak, or some of it is kind of borderline, but we don't really need that. So we're looking at a bunch of stuff in the future to say, how can we make things better? Mostly tactical operations stuff that's in core can't really be messed with because, again, backwards compatibility. The original weapons are just essentially collections of stats, and all those stats go in record sheets. You can't mess with record sheets, so therefore you can't really mess with original weapons. It's the later weapons that have these long game rules sections underneath. It does so and so and so and so circumstances, has this special ability. Those are the ones that can be played around with.
Okay. And there's a 4th playtest as well, right?
There'll be 5 total. The 5th one's kind of weird in that we hope to have it running over everything. We're just a little backed up in terms of getting them out, but there'll be a 4th one that is an attempt to get a pretty solid pickup game generator going for people. Right now, Total Warfare has I think like 3 missions in it, and they're pretty straightforward. They're not. There's just a lot more room for doing something interesting with that setup, and you've seen a lot of interesting fan rules along those lines. And on the other hand, Catalyst has really leaned into, we can do something much more complex. We can make these elaborate historical simulators, long campaign systems. What we want is something in the core rulebook that pretty much strangers can just meet, each flip to the same section of the rulebook and go, okay, let's just have a game. We don't care what faction you are. We don't care what time period this is. I brought some stuff. You brought some stuff. Let's just play a game of BattleTech. Just like BattleTech started, it had lore in the core rulebook, but ultimately it was just a let's you and me fight game. And so we're going to try to capture that with the idea that Catalyst already has a lot of campaign stuff, scenario narrative stuff, and there's going to be more of that coming down the road. Core is just going to be let's you and me fight. So that's package 4, and then 5 is as a full quick play aerospace rule set. When we call it 5, but realistically it could be out tomorrow or next week or whatever. We're trying to get out as fast as possible. We just sort of tacked it on at the end when we realized we had done the first 4. Like, we should do this too. This needs a lot of testing, so we want to get that out as soon as we can, and it will run alongside all the other ones as long as we can get feedback for it.
Now, I know Aaron commented when he was on with you last time, and I know you can repeat this till we're blue in the face here, but what do you say to the feedback that because this is so formalized and because there's a big play test around it and stuff like that, that the game is changing too much?
One of the things I set myself when I started this was don't argue the fans. I mean, it's an arbitrary, like, what's the point? I mean, it's everybody's game. They get to do what they want with it. And it's a personal threshold. And the same thing I was saying at the beginning, right? Like, there's no formal definition for addition. Similarly, there's no formal definition for the game is changing too much. One person's not enough. I'm also going and am hearing, it would have been nice if you'd moved this game into the 20th century. Like, I mean, come on, there's been a lot of game design updates. This could be much better, and by their definition of better. It could be smoother, it could be less granular. Ultimately, we're going to do what we all generally can come to an agreement on is best for the game as we see it. People will vote on the forums, people will vote on various social media places, and ultimately people will vote with their wallets. We think it's good. We like what we're doing. Surprise, surprise, or we wouldn't be doing it. But it's perfectly fair to say, no, this is too much for me and I'm out. I hope that doesn't happen too much, but if it does, well,
if it does,
still have the old books.
If you're worried it does, you can get your copy of the BattleTech manual now.
Yeah, I mean, you can still buy BattleTech Manual, Total Warfare. We're reprinting both of those. BattleTech Manual just went to reprint. Total Warfare is sitting with its last enormous, 300 change log for the last printing on my hard drive whenever it's ready. So yeah, I mean, BattleTech will still be around in whatever form you personally like it. There's still lots of people who I only play with the BattleTech Compendium from 1994. Like, that's it. That's good for me. That's what I like. Any of that later stuff, I don't care about. People stuck to different eras. I'm not interested in telling any of them they're wrong.
And I appreciate your answer on that. I know that one of the things that that Aaron mentioned before too is that, and this firsthand working on errata for so long, is that the game has changed for years. Like the errata has been written, it's been included in the reprints. It's been an ongoing adjustment.
Yeah, it's a living rules engine.
Yeah.
Sure. But it depends what you play, right? I mean, if you don't play infantry, you're not going to notice that on the 8th printing of Total Warfare, we completely redid how infantry are being transported. Like, they transports don't pay movement points to release their payload anymore of infantry. That's enormous if you play infantry in transports. If you don't, you're like, nothing has changed. I rewrote skidding top to bottom, an enormously pain, like 7 pages of rules in a recent printing because they didn't actually work in a lot of ways. But it wasn't until someone recently went through them with a fine-tooth comb and said, these are broken in like 8 different ways because almost no one uses those. But if you were one of those guys who did, wow, you need the most recent printings because they know how it actually works. Like that's what I meant earlier by saying BattleTech is a lot of different games, and the idea of putting everything into one book would be, it would please like 50 people because they play all those rules and they would notice all those changes. But otherwise, it's everyone will have their own personal threshold of why is this stuff X that I don't use here? It's in my way. Why wasn't this in a supplement?
Okay.
Yeah, BattleTech isn't one thing. It's primarily a mech game. It's mechs are most popular, will always be the most popular. They're the reason the Battle Mech Manual came out, and then there was an increasing focus on mechs. It's how the game started. But it's not the only thing by far, and we're going to be looking at everything going forward to make sure that everything gets a bit of a sanding.
Anything else you want to share about stuff you're working on, the play tests, what's coming down the line, things you're working on, that kind of stuff?
I'm not working on anything but this. I do this like 10, 12 hours a day of just like reading BattleTech stuff or writing BattleTech stuff for this book that's coming out. I just finished a complete rework of environmental and urban combat rules that there won't be in a playtest package, but I think anyone who's played BattleTech for a long time, has had the original City Tech box set or whatever, knows that there's problems with the urban combat rule set. It's very fiddly. I mean, the tracking of damages on every individual building, and then tracking how much damage is done to a mech inside a building based on the damage that is done to that building already, plus the type of build. Like it can be a nightmare. And so, I mean, when I've played in official events at times of, I know I probably said this before, but I say, well, okay, are we using the building rules? And, then the demo agent just laughs at you because, like, who's got time for that? We'll be here all week. No. So there'll be new simplified urban combat rules with the hope that people will we can have that in core and people will play it regularly rather than just, I only play this if I play Mega Mech because I can rely on the computer to handle all the simulations for me. Similarly, new weather rules, the tactical operations rules debuted a lot of that weather stuff, but the philosophy there was everything should affect mechs, and everything that's an effect should be at a hit penalty, which means essentially it comes down to any weather of any kind. Mechs are just kind of flailing at each other hopelessly, never hitting anything. So reworking all of weather to try to make that it feels like an environment you might be interested in using rather than going, oh God, no, the weather rules, please kill me now. So that's what I've been doing for the past week. Those are done. Now on to the next thing. I have to start take all my preliminary notes for missions and whatnot and start turning that into the playtest packet for that and get some testing on that before we get that out. So yeah, that's what I have going forward.
Okay, cool. Well, we've got some questions from the chat, so let's go ahead and pivot there. And I do also want to say that, like, as I brought up, like, any of the criticisms too, for every 10 comments we've gotten, like 9 are really excited about this and positive about the changes. So
I definitely want to hear the negative voices as well. I mean, I have no interest in putting out a bunch of rules into a new book that are broken. So
actually, that's you had mentioned that there was the last time we met, and it's in the playtest packet. But where is the place to report if people are have feedback?
Yeah, well, we set up a specialized playtest forum for this. I mean, I can't, give it, what is it, like battletech.com/, it's
it's in the playtest packet.
Okay, it's in the packet itself, but you'd have to go to the site to get the packet. So presumably, but if not, if it was passed around, yeah, click on that link, it'll take you there. There's this forum just for that. Please don't report core issues on Discord. Like in 30 seconds, it's gone forever, and I'm not going to see it. Like, go to the forum, write up or submit a playtest report, go to the forum and write things up. That's how I'll guaranteed see it. If you mentions like, oh, I found this critical issue and then you've posted it on Reddit or something, I'm not going to see it. It's just going to be gone. We need something that has some a social media environment that is actually set up to last more than a minute or a day or whatever, right? So go there, put it up. I'll read it. I'll probably reply. Well, I mean, if it's just straight, this was my experience, I probably won't reply because I don't need, you don't need me to tell you how it went. But if you have questions, I'll ask them. There'll probably be an update to this playtest packet very quickly, first day, first two, something like that, depending on the layout guy and the, Joshua Perrin on website. They all are busy, but I'm going to very quickly go through the initial flood of questions and edit the packet, and then we'll try to get a fresh one up very quickly to address the most obvious, pressing, how does this work? I don't get it, sort of questions.
Cool. Okay. Jumping over here to the mod doc for questions. This is from MRC Jesty. Is front-loaded initiative being considered as it impacts some of the changes in the mobility packet, like a mobile units no longer being counted for initiative during the movement phase?
Yeah, we're looking at front-loaded initiative going forward, but it's not in the playtest packet, but that's definitely one of the things we're very strongly considering because the current BattleTech initiative rules are very clumsy, especially with the constant ratio tracking. You have to constantly go, okay, how many things are left now? Let's check around, see what's there. Something like front loaded is much easier to manage in that. But if you're using an alternate initiative form with your playtest, just please mention in your playtest packet any sort of effect you feel that initiative had on the rules itself. That's one of those synergies I mentioned earlier we might have missed. So you go, hey, it's not in the playtest packet, but here's what we did. And here's what we found. Now, that having been said, I would ask people not to go too crazy on piling on non-standard rules. Like if you're using SPAs and all sorts of other quirks and things, you're not really playing the standard game, and that's what this is designed to test, is the standard game. All of that stuff is going to be massaged in different ways later, so please don't try to pile on too much optional stuff because it's really going to warp the value of your playtest.
From Matt, speaking of, here's a thought experiment for you. A legless mech, which has jump jets in the torso, should
Go
still
to the
be able
playtest form. Sorry, carry on. But I mean, this isn't the sort of thing that would be very easy for me to handle on chat. But yeah, go ahead.
Should still be able to attempt a DFA, and in fact should still be allowed to jump 1 MP for every remaining torso jump jet.
Well, I mean, for something like that, try to get something along those lines where, like, immobility. Right now, for instance, vehicles, you can be theoretically immobile, but it's also possible to have jump jets on your vehicle, and then even though you can't move, you can move. It sort of gets a bit fuzzy. So with something like that, yeah, I agree. A mech should. I mean, I think the rules do cover that right now. The packet saying you can still jump even if you're totally immobilized. Otherwise, you just kind of hop around, but you don't really do much beyond hopping. So I think
I thought someone made the comment already about the Monty Python meme, like the "I can still bite you."
Yeah, yeah, you still can do things. I mean, you might just be, you're probably going to fall down a lot doing it, but we don't mind the falls. I mean, the damage is fun. The being able to do something, get up, go around, even if you're constantly falling, you're at least still taking actions a little more. It's not about getting rid of points of failure, just to making it so that as you're slowly being degraded, you still have options along the way.
Do you know, I'm not sure if you know this one, David Kim asks, is BV 3.0 really coming out?
I call it 2.5, and for that, very deliberately, because it's a patch on the existing rules rather than like previously when we've done new battle values, new combat value, whatever. It has been burn everything to the ground, start over. No, really, this time we're going to get it right. Spoiler, we don't. So instead, battle value 2 has known points of failure. People, you just talk amongst yourselves right now. You go, oh yeah, it's high speed plus jump jets too expensive, pulse weapons too cheap, so on. Everyone knows what they are. So let's just patch those things and slap them on top of the existing, very well understood, otherwise battle value meta, and use that so that way we can go, oh, I see the following 100 or 200 or 300 units changed up and down as I expected they would, rather than, oh my God, I have 7,000 contextless new battle value figures. Nothing means anything to me. We need to learn a whole new environment and find all the new ways to break this new rule set. So I don't see it as a nitpicking thing. I call it 2.5 to emphasize there'll be continuity with the old set. It's largely done in the sense of being, the work on it is done, but of course it needs playtesting, right? You gotta,
Yeah.
just throw that out there. So, and that's down the road. That won't even be
Okay.
in this range because battle value, as usual, is not in the core rulebook. Other than there'll be more mention of it in the core rulebook. I noticed Total Warfare seems very strangely shy about using its own official balancing system. We would like to emphasize, yes, this is our official balancing system. Please use it. So it'll be more in there, but in the end, how to calculate it and all that kind of stuff still belongs in whatever tech manual successor is going to be. That'll be in there. So, long story short, yes, there'll be something eventually. No dates, no hard details yet, no playtest scheduled yet.
Okay. Andrew Dickinson asks, so to make the books more manageable, will the decision be made to drop the stories?
I think broadly, yes. Ray and I were talking about stuff like sidebars. Something I really loved about the design and layout of the second edition BattleTech rulebook was that it had flavor sidebars right on the side. They never got in the way of the rules, but just over here, you're looking at the rules for Death from Aboves, and then there's like the House of Merrick, and then there's a little sidebar and it tells you what that is. And then moving, like, it's all segregated nicely to the side, never can be confused with rules, doesn't get in the way, but it gives you those bits of flavor. I think that's a better way of doing things than the full, here's a giant chapter of story in it that once you've read once, you're otherwise kind of annoyed with, for navigation purposes. I would think there might be a single story at the front. And again, we haven't made this decision yet. Something, if we can find a good story that encapsulates to me BattleTech, and that's easier said than done. I mean, if I offhand, I remember, I think it was David McCullough had a really good story in Interstellar Operations. That was the debut of the battle mech. I think that was an excellent story. It really would capture, if this is a mech focused core rulebook, then that would be a good type of story. Like
What you
some
do is
supplements,
just let them wade into a lake and drown. It's
yes,
just
the exciting adventures of drowning the 101st Drowning Battalion. Yeah, that'd be great. um, some supplements really suggest themselves really easily to fiction. They're like, okay, this is the spy book. Let's have a story about spies. But the core rulebook that is everything BattleTech or the essence of the game will be harder to get a piece of fiction for. But I would think at most you'll see one full story in there and not really anymore.
okay. Andrew Dickinson also asks, what's the chance of a random mission generator online using the tables already available?
No idea, because that comes down to web resources and things like that. I really couldn't say if someone would. I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad idea, but yeah, I don't know. But web issues for us are a little tricky right now because of our hosting situation and whatnot.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen.
Modhale asks, will there be clear distinction between the various versions of the books? Hearing there are differences between prints suddenly has me worried about unwitting mismatches between players. Oh, like when errata gets republished and stuff.
Well, we want to go back to a faster series of iterations of core rulebooks. Like right now, again, Total Warfare is it going out? When did it come out? 2000? Yeah, it'll be 20 years old next year. We don't want to wait 20 years for the next rulebook. So we would like to be, one of the reasons that Total Warfare has seen major rules changes inside it is because we've never replaced Total Warfare. So it was either do that or do nothing and just say, yeah, it's a problem. We're not fixing it. Check back in a decade when we do the new rulebook. So we'd like to do something a little faster and not have this one last 10 years, 20 years. Along those lines, it would be easier to keep up if you have a new core rulebook, because then it's very clear the big changes were in the core rulebook, and we can stick to small fixes as errata really should be within different printings. But in the end, errata will exist. It's just going to happen. But we will track it. It will come out. Every printing will be labeled just like it is right now. If you go to and download an official errata document, every printing changes is labeled within the document. So you can see specifically what changed in the third printing. So we go, okay, I have the fourth. I can ignore all the 1 to 3 marks and just see what changed in mine and up. But we'll still be doing that kind of stuff. But we'd hope to push big changes more now into the future.
Okay. A couple off-topic questions. Turbo Turtle asks, what about the status of the Leviathans Kickstarter? I think Wednesday, we have our meetings Wednesday. So the update Wednesday was 56% is complete for Wave 1 domestic. So if you haven't heard, you should be soon. What is the current? This is from Please Rob Bob. What is the current status of North America Leviathan's fulfillment? How much do we have left before? So as I just mentioned, and you do mention first wave. I did check with the team yesterday, and it looks like the second wave is like super small. Like 19 people haven't finished their survey or something. Which at this point, like, if you haven't finished your survey in all this time, I don't know if you're going to. So we're doing a send and remind again, but like it's probably just going to be largely the one wave, and then anything that's a little one-off is going to just be handled as they come in. But if we have more information on that, that'll be in a backer update. Jennifer Bixby, hi. What is the status on canon characters from the Clan Kickstarter? I still don't have one. I know that as we've communicated before, and for those who don't know, the reporting is a giant mess because the pledge manager was CrowdOx, which was bought by BackerKit. BackerKit can't pull the raw data for us anymore, or they have the ability to, but the report times out and they can't get it. So we keep hammering on that to try to get them to find another way to get it. But until we have that, we have the Kickstarter data, the raw data from the Kickstarter, but if anyone changed their add-on or backed on the pledge manager or upgraded their pledge in the backer kit manager, or the pledge manager, the CrowdOx, that info is currently lost. So that's where we're trying to hound down. Prussian Havoc asks, any word on when the first novel of William Keith's Leviathan's Kickstarter trilogy will be made available? I did ask John last week, and I think he responded to me, so let me pull that up. John. It's not in our one-on-one chat, so let me check the other one real quick and see if I can pull it up. If not, I'm gonna have to look for which chat that happened in. It looks like November for the first Levs novel from Bill Keith. So that's the update I have currently. Oh no, I lost my spot. There we are. Prussian Havoc also asked, for last year's PAX Unplugged, the possibility of a Leviathans event being held on the USS Olympia in nearby Philadelphia Harbor was discussed. Might that happen this year? Not at PAX Unplugged. We are still absolutely open to doing that and looking at it. We just want it to be tied with retail release, and until we know when a more firm timeline on international fulfillment for Leviathans, we won't be planning for that. Let's see. Aster 117 Aster asks, this is for you. Can we combine both playtest packets in single games?
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead. We don't really expect any sort of. I addressed this sort of earlier. The idea that we don't think there should be any serious overlap in terms of, I got this result with one, this result with two that really messes with one, or something like that. They'll obviously be different if you're using different rules, but otherwise, there shouldn't be any issue with doing it individually, combining them. However, it'd be fine. If you do find something though that you think is definitely, you guys don't realize how important it is when you mix this change with this change, then yeah, mention that in your playtest reports, or make a post on the forum if you don't have enough room and you feel the need to go into it more, because yeah, I want to see that.
Cool. I've got more questions populating from the mods as we go here, so bear with me, guys, if I'm a little behind. MRC Jesky asks, once all the playtest packets are out and they have run their course, will we have the opportunity for updates and a dialogue via forums or something to see how feedback is going?
Not really sure what that would look like. I mean, I'm sure we'll put out a list of, in the end, what has made it in, what hasn't, what we've done, like a final sort of change log to the new core rulebook. There are developer notes on this. I mean, any of you who saw the leak saw a giant pile of developer notes as to, okay, here's why I think this change should be made. We'll probably pull some of those in when we do the final list. Here's why we're doing this. And I mean, I hang out on the forums. I'll be around if people want to talk to me about why we did X or Y. Yeah, I'm game for that. But I'm not sure how much of a formal process there'd be besides what I just listed in terms of a proper change log. We want to make sure everyone sees it so that you're not in the middle of a game and someone flips to the book and goes, "Oh, damn it! They changed how the lower arm actuator works, and that wasn't in the playtest packet. I missed it. Now my game is ruined." So we'll try to list everything for sure.
Cool. MRC Jesky also says, honestly, thank you guys for even doing this playtest at all. I know it means a lot to me and my Coolant Pod co-hosts that you're even interested in our opinions as players. I look forward to a dialogue.
I've been a big believer in playtests ever since we've started. I mean, there were some rule sets Catalyst put out that were not playtested. And I don't mean big like BattleTech itself or something, but occasionally, especially when it comes time for the Gen Con Death March, we got to get a book out. And so we had limited time for playtest, and it was felt based on individual developer decision. This is pretty solid. We think it's good. And then it gets into the hands of hundreds, thousands of people, and the years roll by, and you find out that it isn't. So I just want to avoid that. It's not about whether one or two people are reasonably perceptive, but you cannot generate the kind of data, no matter how perceptive one or two people is versus 100, 1,000 people, dozens and dozens of games per person over years. We don't have a limited amount of time, but we can generate a lot of games in just 6 weeks and finding out all sorts of useful stuff already. If we weren't doing this, there'd be just piles of errata already. Even if we assume the rule goes through, the wording on some of it was bad, and stuff is not being like right now. There's a bunch of comments on this new packet. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? We would have had to errata all that. Playtesting is excellent for this kind of stuff. Saying, you didn't consider this. Make sure you do. So I love it. It makes everyone's eventual rulebook better. I hate the idea of people spending money on something that is immediately largely broken. Why not take advantage of all the huge player base BattleTech has and turn it to good? Make it really useful for everybody.
Because we have a little time here, I'm going to ask some of the nitpicky, into the weeds questions for you. So feel free to
just say, please go to the forums because
sure, that's fine. But if you have an opinion or a thought, Andrew Dickinson asks, for side tables, roll 1d6, roll a 1 to 2, use the front tables, 3 to 6, use the new side version of the front. Would that work?
I don't know. This is too important to be doing like off the cuff things like. Right, like
fair.
You'd have to model the statistics for all of that from scratch and see how it goes. The whole idea is that it's so complicated, you can't make off the cuff decisions. You need to test this stuff at the table and get not just once but a lot. So, yeah.
This is from Calixis CSI. Are there any changes in the pipeline to tone down the power of Jump 7+ mechs? Yes. They remain a serious problem with the game balance, especially with pulse lasers.
Yeah, well, that would be all on the battle value side. There's a specific significant increase to pulse lasers. Well, really anything with an accuracy bonus and a similar discount to anything with an accuracy negative, which all just comes down to the same root thing of the battle value system didn't accurately model how much of a swing on a 2d6 scale accuracy modifiers are, either positive or negative. So because those little jumpy guys love pulse weapons, they'll be more expensive because pulse weaponry is going up. But there's probably going to, that one was one of the things that's not actually done yet in the 2.5 revision. There'll probably be some kind of extra tax speed factor wise when you get to jump 7, because that is that magic number that everyone likes to aim for. It is the part where you see a huge swing in battlefield efficiency. So that will probably be a little more expensive as well. But we also have to be careful not to overprice things that are just moving 7. Normally, it needs to be tested. But yeah, you will definitely see something. We've already costed out how much pulse weapons will cost, and it's distinctly more.
Okay. Jennifer Bixby asks, what is the biggest change you remember from TW in general?
TW.
From older rules in general, it's being
like
adjusted.
to the playtest packet, or
Yeah.
like that happened in the when that book came out?
That happened since that book came out.
Oh, it kind of depends what rule set you play. That's what I mean by the sense of like Total Warfare has many games in a single cover. I mean, if you play Aerospace, it's been heavily rewritten multiple times. In a lot of areas, like first printing Aerospace versus 12th is huge numbers of changes. But if you don't, you wouldn't notice any of that. Infantry, there's been a lot. V2Ls, well, I think I made a list in the forums at one point where people are asking a similar question in the sense of like, what really has changed between printings? Like, I think the first printing didn't even really tell you how improved jump jets work. So if you had the first printing, it just literally didn't really work properly, or they gave you a completely false idea of how they worked because there was a rules paragraph missing. That was a big one because a lot of people have improved jump jets now. It would be hard to say offhand, but because it depends again what you're playing.
I saw a question about backer update for Mercenaries Wave 4. It went out last week. I'm like double doubting myself now that it actually published, but I'm going to check it right now to make sure that it posted. Yep, it posted. So you can check that out. It's yesterday was the date that they were supposed to be starting, and we'll hear an update about if as long as that happened and what progress is tomorrow at the meeting.
Yeah, 133 went out on the 24th. Oops.
Yeah. Couple last minute questions here at the bottom of the chat. Calixus asks, based off your previous answers, is it fair to assume that equipment that gives situational modifiers like stealth armor are receiving a discount in BV 2.5?
I'm not following the train of logic there. Those still are effective. They're still powerful. If you mean just in general that any modifier should be worth more. Okay, no, I see what you're saying now. I would have to double check the formula in general, specifically for applying modifiers to units. I think that's not too bad. I don't recall that there was any changes made there. Like, I think those were reasonably well costed, but I will have to double check them. We're going over all the modifiers as part of that. And if not, then that would be part of what playtest would show, that like, okay, look, you've fixed this aspect of modifiers to hit, but the inverse, modifiers to be hit, is maybe not costed accurately, in which case we play with that. Right now, though, there wasn't anything, but it hasn't hit full playtest yet. It hasn't gone out to a wider group of agents to pour over and beat the hell out of. So it's still early yet.
Okay. Roly Poly JDR asks, are there plans to translate the BattleTech rules into other languages?
Well, that would be definitely a management question. I would think so, but yeah, in the end, that's definitely not my department. Okay.
Fair enough. Aaron's in chat, or was earlier, so maybe if he is listening, he can answer that. That's the last question that I have. Let me triple check here. Yep, the last one that came through from the mods as well. So we'll go ahead and wrap up a moment or two early here. Thank you, Keith, so much. Keep us posted. We'll have you back on for the next one.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to.
Awesome. And again, the forums, if you want to engage with the devs directly, and the playtest packet for all the info you need to try out these new rules and give that feedback. And then stay tuned for the playtest packet 3 that's coming.
What do we got here? Playtest packet 3 is out on the 27th of October.
Awesome. So we'll see you back around that time. Don't forget that BattleTech Gothic releases tomorrow, so check that out. Shadowrun sale on the store, and I think next week, actually, it's unconfirmed. I reached out to him to see if he was available, but I'm trying to get Herb Bees on to talk about Gothic, so that'll be fun. And every time I hear his name, I haven't met Herb yet, but every time I hear his name, I hear Herbies in my head.
I'm sure.
I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he's had that one a lot. I'm actually kind of curious because I never realized how it was pronounced until I've actually heard you say it. So, but yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if he's got a bunch of custom shirts or something.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So we'll be back next week. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here, Keith.
Cheers.
And we'll see you next time.